What is up, T people? So it's been I kind of look like I've been working hard. I'm pretty exhausted and beat up. It's been an insane launch period. I don't know how many days it's been. I also had Sam in town, so we recorded eight episodes that are all scheduled. The internet died for one of the days. Anyway, it's been crazy. I am taking a break. I'm gonna go have some of this Chin Chin How Zodiac Goat that I got sample from those guys. Thank you. And record, and then have this power the beginning of some very large back end changes. So I'm going to be taking a break from all of the look and feel stuff, which I wanted to mention before anything else. The themes on the site are not perfectly tested. So the dark theme has issues on it, and I just launched one of the things that I've wanted to do, which is the pencil shavings theme. So shout out to that. Check that out rather. It's in the settings. It's kind of a grayscale theme. I wanted it to be kind of like cartoonish and stuff, like pencil drawing vibes. Anyway, I think it's kind of fun. Check that out if you want. You might need to hard refresh your browser because things are being cached now. Anyway, I'm exhausted. I'm going to be beginning the next phase of the project, which is going to be to work on data management. And so that's going to be to disambiguate years from individual T's and instead add a T's table. This is for the nerds out there. So that's going to increase the speed of loading T information. I'm going to be adding vendors as a vendors table, and that's going to enable me to record a bunch of specific information, have vendor pages on the site, which is going to be really cool and useful, but also enable people to note that this is, the Eon 7542 versus the blah, blah, blah 7542. So that'll be really useful for users. That will not be on a per T level. You'll have to add or augment information that way. So in your stash, you'll be able to designate the producer of the T that you have in your stash. And then the add session page will inherit that vendor into your session when you will add one. You can, of course, remove it like you do with flavors or with custom tags, and then select a different vendor or type in a vendor that is relevant there. So even if you have one in your stash, you might be trying a different storage from a different vendor. You want to make sure to annotate that. That will then go into that that session itself as a vendor for that T, but it won't be associated one-to-one with T's specifically on the site. That's going to enable much less issues with having the T's database be just enormous. Same basic concept with years. I'm going to abstract years so that we do associate years to T's, but T's do not inherit the years by default. So it's just going to reduce the size of the T table as well, so that I can do a much better job of managing the data. Because right now, the backlog I have not focused on at all. It is growing and growing and growing. So everyone's T's who you've entered T's, they are all showing up as custom right now. They're going to keep showing up as custom. So that's part of this announcement. So I want to get all these done and then build some data consolidation, deduplication views for myself so that I can say this T is this T, this T is this T, and then consolidate a bunch of them to make it much more organized, much easier, much cleaner. The producers and vendors tables will also auto-suggest inside of add custom T, the add custom T widgets, so that the naming conventions are standardized. I'm also going to add common misspellings or spellings of vendors and producers so that when you type in Yunnan sourcing with no space, it adds the space automatically. That's going to save me a bunch of headache as well. So these are all things that are going to improve my management quality of life. I don't want to sign up for too much work on an ongoing basis. I want to be a user more than a developer, but I am in developing mode super hard right now. It's a lot of fun. Shout out to everyone who's sent in feedback and suggestions. A lot of them are repetitive. Sometimes you catch me when I am exhausted and I'm a little bit more curt than I would like to admit, so I apologize if I've been a little short on the email. Sometimes it's just like, oh God. Please also try to browse around to the best of your possible ability. Sometimes things are there, but they might not be as obvious as you would like. That's not the kind of feedback I want right now. I'm not trying to work as much on look and feel and formatting, although I have done a lot on that stuff in terms of like core functionality, but much more on data management, the kind of functionality of all of the main views. Hopefully it's sexy enough for everybody. I'm enjoying the look and feel of it quite a bit. I just launched a new metric, which is going to be 1 gram over milliliters, so that we can get a sense of the sort of relative strength of brews. And I might even try to color code that and have some sort of absolute color coding so that everyone can see that I'm brewing 1 gram per 10 milliliters, dog. What are you brewing? Anyway, so mostly though, I'm just having a blast doing this stuff. It is exhausting. I am exhausted. I also have a baby on the way. Not me, but you know what I mean. So there will be a slowdown in the Denisos. There will be a slowdown in the app development. And I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can to prep for said slowdown. So to pre-schedule as much as I possibly can. Also, just I am not doing enterprise level production here, so there's no like maintenance mode for the site. The site just sometimes dies because I'm pushing changes. Sorry if you lose some sessions or some session notes or things like that. I do apologize. It will become much less frequent, but just keep a note of that. I think that covers most of it. Again, lots of changes, compact, minimalized versus exhaustive views, themes, lots of cool look and feel stuff, certainly, but please don't get too hung up for the feedback on those specifics. I have a lot of other ideas too about data visualization on the stash page. Those are going to come. I think there's going to be, once we have richer and richer information over the history of consumption, meaning you did 6 sessions this week, 5 the next, 7 the next. I'm going to implement history graphs showing basically the speed test. Okay, so how frequently are you passing the speed test on certain teas relative to other teas? You have this number of teas in your database. You have this many sessions that you're drinking and recording on average. Are you drinking this tea more than other teas? Let's visualize that. Let's visualize how much tea you're drinking per week for a specific tea over time. Maybe have it compared to other teas inside of your stash. These are all things that I think are going to be super freaking cool, but they become important over time. And so let's focus on what's most important right now, which is going to be just to make the data clean, clear, and running the website fast. On an ongoing basis, or rather eventually, having those rich data points of your own tasting history, your own session history, etc., will be really relevant. The final thing I want to talk about is sort of a design decision that I made early on in the project. And it's one of the things that then James and I both made a video on how I rate tea that I've been thinking about as sort of almost a philosophy question, which is how do you create a standardization of rating across teas, something that is widely subjective? And the answer is I'm not doing that. It's up to you as a user. The idea of this project is to have wisdom of crowds. Now, is it possible for someone to go in and try to game a certain vendor or producer and give them higher reviews? It is possible. If that happens, if I see something happening like that, I will shadow ban people. I'm not going to be uncomfortable with doing that. I don't want to mess up the data inside of the site. So if someone rates one vendor really, really highly over time, okay, so be it. If someone is rating all teas as 9s over time, then I will shadow ban them because they are going to mess up the data. So those are problems that have yet to occur, and I'm not going to worry about them until they do start to occur. But I am cognizant of them. But again, there are certain things that are just hard to disambiguate. So there are methodologies of doing this with math where you just take certain highest values that are out of the average deviation. You know what I mean, standard deviation. For high and low, and you remove them to get better data, things like that. There are definitely solvable solutions out there already for these kind of problems. I like the feedback, but I don't need any more of that kind of feedback specifically because I'm definitely plugged into some of those challenges and questions. Line graphs versus bar graphs. Look, some of the stuff I just like how it looks more than other stuff, okay? So yes, I understand there's certain ways of showing data that's more accurate than others, and that's cool. But please be using the app in the way that you want to be using it, understanding that there are going to be skewed results, especially early on with these teas. And as the database grows, I'm hoping that wisdom of crowds, that sort of mass of consciousness solves for a lot of these problems. So please bear with me on those. These are design decisions that I have made today, and they can be accounted for and worked on in the future, but I want to get to those problems first before I decide to solve for them. And I just appreciate so much the feedback and the donations and the kind words. I really like the kind word emails. Some people are just like, this is broken, and it's not I need to know that stuff, but also it's nice to, I really appreciate, let's put it this way, people being like, I'm loving the app, it's so cool, I'm really enjoying it, I'm going to be using this for a long time. That makes me feel really good. So I'm not asking for anyone to glaze me, but also just be cognizant that like it is a one-man show. Yeah, so including all the data management, all the custom tea approval, all the flavor approval, all everything. It's a lot. It's a lot more than I realized it's going to be, and especially with the adoption speed, it has blown me away. So thank you, everybody. It's been a really fun project to be working on. I'm gonna go record a session for the episodes, take a break, and then get back to some kind of core, deep, fundamental data analysis stuff and updating. So you're not going to see nearly as many front end changes, not as many look and feel changes for the next little bit. Be very much focused on how things are organized on the back end. Appreciate everybody. Hope you guys are all doing awesome. And until next time, cheers.